What is up, everybody, and welcome to the FanDuel Strategy Show, Friday FanDuel Strategy Show specifically. And just here it's early morning here to talk through some strategy for this Friday slate, as always, on FanDuel with some baseball. Today on this Friday, it's me. I'm your host, Headchopper here, and joined by, the superlatives, man. It's just, there's not enough of them. The man keeps crushing. John Breslin, a.k.a. SquirrelPatrol. If you haven't seen his name at the top of the leaderboards on some of these contests, then you're just not looking hard enough. John, number one, how's your Friday going? And number two, just how many seats have you secured now for baseball across the different platforms?
Across different platforms, it's 8 total for baseball, but FanDuel's 4. So, and they just finished qualifiers yesterday. Like yesterday morning or yesterday that afternoon slate was the last qualifier. So it's qualifier number 125. So yeah, I got 4 seats for Chicago. It's going to be a great trip. You can still actually win your way to Chicago with the single entry series though. So we got that going on, and I think it's the $5 single, MLB single tonight. So you can still win your way to Chicago, even though the qualifiers for the live final are officially wrapped up.
Man, it's a lot of seats. What are you planning on doing with all those? You gonna bring some guests, or you gonna give them out? What you gonna do?
So for Chicago, it's gonna be a family trip. So my wife's got family in Chicago. So
wait a minute, you sure about that one? That's the one you want to be a family trip?
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna take my wife, my daughter, visit some of her cousins and aunts and uncles and stuff. So this should be a good time. But yeah, cashed in 3 of the seats and just taking my wife officially.
Nice. That's what you got to do. But that's always fun, those trips, man. When they're footing the bill for it, and you get to get out there and win some money. So good luck to you when you get out there. And for now, we got to dive into this Friday slate. Like I said before, guys, it's really early in the day, so I'm not going to talk specifics. We don't even have a single lineup out yet. That's how early we're doing this. It's just general strategy here for FanDuel. So let's talk about some FanDuel Gpps real quick before we get into it. What they have, you already mentioned it, the RG single entry series, $5 buy-in. That continues tonight. And if you don't know what that is, then basically you just play the single entry series contest every night. It's going to drop. I think your lowest 3 scores or 4 scores, something like that. It's going to drop some low scores for you. So you can miss a night, you can miss 2, you can miss 3, and you could still be in contention to win this thing. It's going to take your highest scores. So like you said, it's $5 tonight. It was $100 last week. It's been $3. So the price point varies. So get in on that. That's a good time. And then we run those for baseball, basketball, and football. So be on the lookout. I love those. Every time those come around and I see the little RG icon in the FanDuel lobby, I definitely get in those just because I like a good single entry, lower amount of people you're facing off against kind of thing going on. So you got that on FanDuel tonight. The biggest prize out there for first place, $100K. You can win $100K tonight in the 777 Monster. So that's a little bit of a big price point right there. $777 for the Monster. It's only 434 entries though. So, I'm not saying go out there and do that if that's not what your thing is, but man, that's pretty, it's just kind of sitting there. It looks nice. Only 434 people and you can win $100K. The biggest low dollar tournament out there tonight, typically, and I like the FanDuel lower price point, the way they do their lower price point, just always give you a really nice, affordable price point. $30K up top, $5.55 entry fee. Now it's 32,000, a little bit over 32,000 entries out there you got to battle with. So a lot more luck involved, but they always give you a shot every night in baseball. They're giving you a chance for a low price point. If we're going to other sites, that price point on something like that is usually about $15. So it's about 3 times as much, and that makes a big difference to a lot of bankroll. So $5.55, get in that GPP, right? It's called the squeeze. Real quick, how much? I know it varies for sure. But how much would your strategy vary tonight if you're playing 10 in the monster for $7.77, or you've got 10 lineups in the squeeze for $5.55? How much would that change?
It'd probably change it a good deal, because I think, just look at the number of people you're trying to beat. And so my thought process with something like that is like, I don't, if I'm entering 10 lineups in the squeeze, I'm probably going to fade like the highest owned stacks almost entirely. Like if I use like one of those higher used stacks, I'm going to make sure I pair it with like a really low owned stack, just because you're trying to beat out tens of thousands of people. And if I enter a $5 contest and I get wiped out, like Arizona and Colorado go off or something, all right, it's not my night. I'm entering 10 lineups in like the 777. I don't want to get wiped out. Like if Arizona, and Colorado, as they have the highest implied run totals, if they, are just a huge scoring game back and forth, goes extra innings, they're putting the runner out on second base, and then 10th, 11th, 12th, then I'm gonna be more likely to use the higher owned stacks and just try to get a little bit different. You don't have to get quite as different if you're trying to just beat out a couple hundred people or a few hundred people versus like tens of thousands of people.
Yeah, I agree. You have to be aware of, that's one of the strategy points of DFS. Be aware of what you're playing against. 32,000 entries. It's a much different strategy than only 434. What you have to beat out, it makes the chalk numbers, the ownership numbers, it makes them way different, so it's a different context there. So let's get into some of the slate overview here. We've got weather, absolutely zero weather we have to worry about that. So we could put Roth on mute if we wanted to. There's just not much. There's just nothing that's going to impact a stoppage or a postponement or anything like that. So looks good. So games, we got 13 of them tonight on the main slate. 13 games. So obviously, just like a typical Friday, it's a huge slate. The slate overview is impacted sometimes by certain games, and you talked about it already. Anytime you got a course field game, it impacts the slate. So you have to look at it first and foremost. And I look at this one, and the quick synopsis is it's two kind of poor pitchers. Now, I'm sure they tell you differently. They think they're all right, but by metrics, they're not that good. And they're in course field, so it impacts the slate quite a bit, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's definitely an impact, and it's like kind of the consummate like MLB slate tonight, because we got a course field game, you got two like big high strikeout ace pitchers. You probably can't afford everything, so you have to make some decisions. But yeah, that's like the biggest thing that shapes up the slate, because you're always looking to see like what teams can I stack, and they're just going to keep scoring runs and runs and runs. And the course field, that park, right? They're like just inflates the run totals. Just all these hits dropping in, balls flying out of the yard. So it's a major impact on the slate, but like we're not the only ones looking at it and going, oh, that course field game, that could be high scoring. So you got to take ownership into consideration.
Yeah, it's the slate, you nailed it. It's course field with two subpar pitchers, and there's two absolute aces on the mound. And when I say ace, I say not just arm talent, but the matchup involved too. That makes them an ace to me tonight. And there's two of them, and we'll talk a little bit about them later. But it's just, that's what shapes up this slate right there. Is good weather, we're fine there. Big 13 games, so it's going to impact our next topic, which is stacks, and then course field and two good pitchers. So there's your big picture slate overview right there. Talking about course field and good pitchers, let's talk about some stack sizes, not specific teams, but the sizes. You get a 13 gamer. So if you're looking at 13 games compared to a smaller slate, let's say the main slate yesterday was 6 games. Your 4x4s, 4x3, so on and so forth. Is that affected when you look at it and say, 13 game? When I'm looking at it on Friday morning, 13. Well, I kind of know what I'm going to do now. Does it affect your stack size?
A little bit. And I think that if the more games there are, the more likely I'm going to do like full stacks, full 4-4 stacks. And also like, we talked about like a squeeze versus the 777, like monster. I'm more likely to do full stacks in the squeeze and do, one-offs in the monster. I think in like, you look at it, 13 games, like there's 26 teams. There's probably going to be at least 2 teams they're like scoring double-digit runs, right? That Coors Field game jumps out as a possibility. But there's some other good offenses. They're in pretty good spots, facing some weaker pitchers. So like there's probably going to be at least 2 teams that go off. And if you have stacked the right guys, like 4 and 4 from those 2 teams out of 26, like that's really going to give you a big edge on the field. Whereas, and that's especially true in the squeeze. For like the monster, like I'm more likely to take some one-offs and just hope to have a guy that hits a home run. But yeah, I think 26 teams in play is going to be some high-scoring teams. So I'm looking to fully stack.
Fully stack. If your main stack is always going to be 4, a 4-man stack for the main stack.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about if you're playing that 777? And I know tonight's different because you got Coors Field and some good. Let's say there wasn't something that jumped out to you. You're only facing 400 other entries. Would you entertain a smaller main stack on a team like that?
I cannot remember the last time
I didn't go at least 4. Yeah, fair enough. What about this? So you're saying maybe the size of the number of people you're battling against and the amount of money you have on a particular lineup, maybe that just only affects your secondary stack?
For the most part, it's possible if I really like this, certain combination, I might do like 3-2-2. Like if I think there's 3 teams that are really good, or maybe like 2 hitters from a couple different teams that I think could kind of stand out to me. Like it's possible I would, but it's almost certainly going to be at least 4 for the main stack, and then I'm either making a decision between 4 and 3 for my secondary stack. And I might be thinking, when I do like a 4-3, I might have a 4-4, right? And I might look at it and go, like, I've got some kind of like Nicky Lopez, like ninth place hitter, just has no chance to hit a home run, and I've got enough salary, I can get up to like Aaron Judge or something like that. Somebody that can really hit 2 home runs and break the slate. Like, yeah, I'm gonna switch that 4-4 to a 4-3. But it's probably either going to be a 4-4 or 4-3, maybe like a 4-2-2 for me.
Fair enough. That's kind of sums up the stack size. I'm with you on a big slate. It's always main stack's always going to be 4. Maximum you can do on FanDuel is 4, and I'm always going to have the 4 on there. So I like that, and I think the secondary stack is what I look at who I'm playing against and how much I'm playing for, and that's. I'm not unlike you. There are times even on a bigger slate, I might even just go 4 by whatever, like whatever I see out there. I might go 1-1-1-1 with a 4-man stack, just depending like how it's rolling out there. But you never know. So let's talk about now. It's kind of like a lot of that part of it. Let's get into. Let's see what we got here for some. Is there anybody that stands out? Ownership, it's early. I'm not even sure this stuff is. It'll be more accurate as it goes on. High owned guys, a guy like Juan Soto is jumping off the board. We're seeing like early indications around 15. Probably, I'd say it's going to hover between 15 and 20% for your highest owned hitters tonight. Does that change anything for you strategy wise when you're building tonight?
Well, yeah, it does. Not necessarily at the higher end, but at the lower end. So yeah, I like Juan Soto, but I like him in a Padres stack. I think the Nationals have have won 3 of their last 14 games. Like they're 3-11 over the last 14. Juan Soto returning to Nationals Park. So I think maybe they groove him one. They've got a pretty poor pitcher on the mound. Corey Abbott, I think he's given up like a tremendous amount of home runs in his major league career. I think he's 12 home runs in 30 innings in the big leagues so far. So that's not that's not promising. We can see some balls flying out of the yard in Nationals Park. I haven't looked at the weather report because there's no weather issues, but being near the DC area, it's pretty hot and humid. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's a pretty high scoring game, particularly on the Padres side tonight. What I does like, what I do see sometimes when I look at ownership is I look at the kind of sort it by fantasy points, and I look for guys that are projected to score a lot of fantasy points, but are not projected to be very highly owned. And so somebody like draws my eyes, Aaron Judge, because he's, I think our highest projected hitter tonight, but it's probably going to come like single digit ownership, maybe even less than 5%. So that's something that I'm interested in. If I can get like a good hitter, at single digit ownership, that's the kind of thing that can break a slate.
Yeah, agreed. Well, I was going to talk about the Yankees in just a minute, so you kind of led me to that here in a minute. But yeah, I kind of agree with you on all that stuff. So we're going to get out of here in just a little bit. But first, I want to go through a few more specific plays. So I want to ask you about your favorite stacks tonight, and I want to clarify that this is, let's say, this is entering teams into the $5.55 low dollar, battling 32,000 other people. Give me your 3 favorite stacks in that scenario.
Yeah, so I think 3 favorite stacks. I'm probably gonna go underweight Coors Field. Like, I'm probably not gonna exclude it entirely. Like, if I'm doing 150 lineups, definitely have some Coors Field stacks. But the stacks I'm gonna go overweight on, I think San Diego, like we just talked about. I think Houston. I think they'll be owned, but probably not as highly owned as they should be. I think Jordan Alvarez is in a great spot, and I'll go with the Yankees.
Fair enough, and I like that. For the 555, the guys I picked out specifically, just obviously, if I'm playing in 777, I'm probably making sure I get a good chunk of the Colorado-Arizona game. I don't like to just boot away $750 like that. So I'm making sure I get some of that. But 555, we can take some big chances. I think my favorite stacks are San Diego, because everything's going to come secondary to the Colorado game as far as ownership, right? Like, it's just, that's going to gather. Your hitters are going to be big there. Then maybe even Houston in a really good matchup tonight may gather a lot of own. I think San Diego kind of drifts down there. Boston, you talked about Aaron Judge. I threw Boston out there tonight just because, specifically, I don't know why. I mean, maybe it's just my mind playing tricks on me, but it seems like Boston and the Yankees, when they get together and play, there's always they always outperform the Vegas line as far as total. Like, they always score more runs than what you think they should, even when there's pretty decent pitching on the mound. Tonight, not so much decent pitching. This is very marginal. So I like Boston to sneak in under the radar. And the last one, the White Sox. A smaller slate, a team like the White Sox facing off against a left-hander, that would just, like, everybody would be, oh, they're so good against left-handers. Look at these team stats against left-handers this year. But nobody's saying that because it's a monster slate with a lot of hitting on it. So why not sneak some White Sox in there? Let's talk about your favorite 3 pitchers. I don't care what format they're in, big dollar, low dollar. Give me your favorite 3 guys tonight.
So there's 2 guys clearly at the top, Max Scherzer and Carlos Rodon. I'm keeping those 2 in my top 3. Like, I think I'd always rather spend up a pitcher and try to find some value bats. Like, there's going to be some guys priced $2,500 and less that hit home runs tonight, right? So I'm going to try to find those guys and stick with the high-priced, high strikeout pitchers. Like, I think they're just unlikely to bust, but they could they could destroy the slate. Like, either one of these guys can go 8 innings, get double-digit strikeouts, get the quality start, get the win, and they are guy you have to have in your lineup. Beyond that, probably Luis Garcia. Luis Garcia and Tyler Mahle, I've got them both ranked, pretty highly. They're about the same price, so I'd probably go with Garcia a little bit over Mahle, but I like Mahle as a pretty low owned, 5% owned guy. Oh, I think you're on mute.
You're right, mute. That's my bad. I got caught. Mad Max, definitely we've talked about already. Two big guys, Mad Max number one. Can't think. We got one pitcher on FanDuel. You don't want to get that wrong. Like Mad Max number one, Rodon. This is just for a left-handed pitcher these days. Going against the Pirates might be the best scenario you could possibly face. So, got to get some Rodon in there. From off the radar guy, I like some of the guys you mentioned, but Jose Barrios, to me, it's weird, and I know small sample, some guys don't believe in all that. He just looks like he's more comfortable at home. The numbers back that up. So I usually don't want to play him on the road, but if I can play him at home, if it's in a good matchup, I can go for it. In this case, I know Cleveland is, known not to strike out a whole lot, but I don't think they have a lot of pop in that. So I'm going Jose Barrios as my number 3 guy. Squirrel, I think we're wrapped up here, man. You got anything for the people before we jump out of here?
No, just enjoy the weekend. We got a great slate of baseball ahead of us. Should be a great weekend of baseball. So, yes.
Guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week with another edition of the Friday FanDuel Strategy Show. Until then, that was Squirrel Patrol. I was your host, Chop. We're going to take you out of here on some tunes. Later.